The pack called her the Hollow One. They said the moon forgot her, and sometimes when the nights were quiet enough, Luna almost believed them. The morning mist clung to the training grounds as she carried buckets of water down the slope, her bare feet sinking into the dew-soaked earth. Around her, young wolves sparred and shifted, their laughter sharp and cruel. The scent of fur and pride filled the air. Luna had none of it. No wolf scent, no aura of dominance, just silence. Careful, human, sneered Rena, one of the Alpha's favored warriors. Wouldn't want to break a mortal bone. The others snickered. Luna kept her eyes down. It was safer that way. Wolves smelled weakness, they hunted it, but beneath her lowered lashes something flickered. An ember of defiance. She'd learned long ago that silence could be a shield, that dignity, when you had nothing else, was its own kind of weapon. Still, as the laughter faded and she trudged toward the well, a familiar ache pulsed behind her ribs. Her 18th birthday loomed, the night every young wolf faced the moon and shifted for the first time. For everyone else, it was a rite of pride. For her, it would be the end of all pretense, because when the moon rose tomorrow, she would stand before the pack. She would close her eyes, reach inside herself, and find nothing waiting. No wolf, no voice, just emptiness. And they would finally have proof that she didn't belong. A voice broke her thoughts. You shouldn't listen to them. She turned. Illy, the beta's son, leaned against a fence post, his dark eyes soft with sympathy. They're idiots. You've got more strength than all of them combined. Luna forced a smile, though it didn't reach her eyes. Strength doesn't matter if you're not one of them. Maybe your wolf is just quiet, he said gently. Maybe she's waiting for the right moment. She wanted to believe that. For a heartbeat, she almost did. But belief couldn't fill the hollow place inside her chest. That night, Luna stood by her small window, staring at the half moon rising over the forest. The wind carried the faint, distant howl of wolves greeting their destiny. Her fingers tightened around the worn pendant her mother left her, an old moonstone etched with faint runes. If I'm meant to have a wolf, she whispered, why won't she answer me? The silence that followed was her only reply. But far away, deep within the forest shadows, something stirred, a low growl echoing like an ancient heartbeat. It wasn't time yet, but the moon was watching. The night of the moon ceremony came cloaked in silver light and whispered expectation. Torches lined the sacred clearing, their flames swaying like eager spirits. Every wolf in Hollowfang had gathered, faces lifted toward the full moon that crowned the treetops. Luna stood at the edge of the crowd, heart hammering. Her dress was simple, white linen against skin that felt too exposed. She could feel the weight of their stares, their laughter simmering just beneath polite silence. The Alpha's presence dominated the clearing. Kale stood before the altar, broad-shouldered and impossibly composed, moonlight catching in the steel of his eyes. Power radiated from him in waves, controlled, cold, absolute. He was everything a wolf should be. And tonight, she would prove she wasn't one. Step forward, Luna of Hollowfang. The elder intoned. Her legs trembled as she obeyed. The air thickened, charged with the scent of anticipation and dominance. Somewhere among the pack, Rena smirked. Luna heard a whisper. She'll fail. Just watch. The ritual began. One by one, the young wolves before her shifted under the full moon's gaze, their bones reshaping, fur bursting through skin, their howls uniting in wild harmony. The crowd roared approval, then silence. It was her turn. Luna stepped into the center of the clearing. The moon hung huge above her, its light burning against her skin. She reached inward, searching for the spark, the bond, the wolf she had never felt. Her breath hitched, nothing, only emptiness, a hollow space where something sacred should have lived. The crowd began to murmur, try again. The elder urged, voice tightening. Luna closed her eyes, her whole body trembling. She pushed harder, past pain, past fear, until tears burned her lashes, but the more she reached, the more the silence mocked her, and then Kale's voice cut through the air, cold, final. She has no wolf. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Luna's head snapped up, eyes wide. Kale was staring at her, no, through her, with something far crueler than anger, recognition. The bond between them flared for a heartbeat raw, electric. Her pulse stuttered as something ancient inside her reached for him. But his gaze hardened. No, he growled. It can't be. The elder frowned. Alpha. Kale stepped closer. His sent a storm of dominance and disbelief. The goddess made a mistake. I will not be bound to a human. The words hit harder than any blow. The crowd erupted, voices overlapping. Shock, pity, laughter. Luna couldn't move, couldn't breathe. He turned away, dismissing her as if she were nothing. And the moon above them wept silver tears across the clearing. The laughter hadn't stopped echoing. Even hours later, Luna could still hear it, carried through the corridors of the pack house like a ghost that wouldn't die. She sat alone in the ceremonial hall, the air thick with incense and humiliation. Her body ached from where she'd fallen to her knees before the entire pack. But the ache in her chest was worse. A slow, tearing agony that pulsed with every breath. The mate bond, it had been there, just for a moment. That impossible spark that told her she wasn't as empty as they thought, that the moon hadn't abandoned her completely, but then Kale had rejected it, rejected her. The Alpha entered the hall now, his footsteps echoing against stone. His expression was unreadable, carved from the same cold authority he'd shown the night before. Behind him, the elders gathered, their faces solemn. A ritual was to be performed, the severing, the formal act of rejection. Luna, Kale said, his voice even, the pack cannot carry a false bond. For both our sakes, this must end. Her throat closed around the words she wanted to scream. I didn't choose this, you did, but she said nothing. Because even now, looking at him, she could still feel the pull, the instinct to reach for him, to submit, to trust. She hated herself for it. The elder raised a silver blade, its edge gleaming beneath the torchlight. Runes etched along its surface pulsed faintly, feeding on the air thick with sorrow. By the laws of the moon goddess, the elder intoned, we break the thread between two souls unworthy of union. Kale nodded once. Luna bowed her head. The blade sliced through the air and touched the back of her palm, drawing a thin line of blood. Pain surged through her chest, sharp and luminous, the mark of the bond, faint and shimmering like moonlight, flickered once, then died. Her heart felt like it had been ripped from her body. She gasped, clutching her chest. The floor tilted beneath her as something inside cracked open. A whisper filled the room, low and inhuman. The torches trembled, their flames bending toward her. Do you feel that? One of the elders hissed. Kale frowned, his eyes narrowing. What is this? But before anyone could speak again, Luna's eyes snapped open. For just a heartbeat they glowed, silver and wild, like the moon itself had stared back through them. Then she collapsed, the flames went out, and in the darkness that followed, the silence was absolute. The morning after the ceremony dawned gray and cold. Mist coiled low over Hollowfang territory, as if the forest itself refused to breathe. Luna was gone. Her bed in the healer's wing lay empty. No scent, no trace, as though the earth had swallowed her whole. Some said she'd fled in shame. Others whispered the moon had taken her, but none dared look too closely, except Kale. He stood at the cliff's edge overlooking the valley, the same valley where he'd first shifted as a boy. The wind bit against his skin, but he didn't move. Sleep hadn't come. Her face still haunted him. The look in her eyes when the bond was broken, the light that shouldn't have existed. It was supposed to be over. The rejection ritual was meant to silence everything, but still, something pulsed faintly inside him, like an echo of a heartbeat that wasn't his. He clenched his fists. She's gone. He muttered, it's done. Behind him, his beta, Elias, stepped forward. You don't believe that, Elias said quietly. You felt it too, the energy that surged when the bond broke. That wasn't normal, Kale. It wasn't just pain, it was power. Kale turned sharply. Careful, Beta. Power or not, she's no wolf. The goddess doesn't bind mortals to alphas. Elias met his gaze unflinching, unless the goddess wanted to test you. The words landed heavier than they should have. Kale looked away, jaw tightening enough. She's not our concern anymore. We have a pack to protect. But the pack was already whispering. By nightfall, the rumors had spread through every den and corridor, stories of a cursed girl whose rejection had angered the moon goddess herself. Pups cried in their beds, Warriors spit over their shoulders when they passed the old ceremonial hall. They said the moon had cried again last night, that something had answered from the woods, and deep in those same woods, far from the scent of civilization, a figure moved beneath the trees, barefoot. Bleeding, eyes like pale mercury flickering through the dark. Luna didn't remember how she had escaped, only the echo of pain and the whisper of a voice that wasn't hers. They broke us, the voice murmured inside her mind, low and ancient. But the moon does not forget her own. Luna fell to her knees, trembling, her breath misting in the cold. For the first time she answered back, "Then show me who I am." The wind stirred, soft, reverent, carrying her words into the night. The forest became her only witness. Days blurred into one another, sunlight filtering through canopies, cold streams washing blood from her hands, and nights filled with the distant howls of wolves that were no longer hers. Luna moved like a ghost through the wild, surviving on roots, berries, and stubborn will. Each time she tried to sleep, she heard the echo of Kale's voice. The goddess made a mistake, and each time, something deep inside her growled in protest. But it was only a growl in dreams, never in her waking hours. Her reflection in the river mocked her. Pale skin smudged with dirt, hair tangled, eyes hollow yet burning with quiet fury. "If you're there," she whispered to her own reflection, "if you ever existed, then why did you let them take everything?" The forest answered with silence, until one night it didn't. Luna woke to a faint silver light pulsing from her mother's pendant, the moonstone that had hung cold and inert her whole life. The runes along its surface shimmered, glowing faintly beneath her fingers. "Who's there?" she whispered, heart hammering. From the shadows stepped an old woman wrapped in a cloak of wolf pelts, her eyes milky with age but sharp with something older, something divine. "I have been waiting for you, child of Moonblood," the woman said. Her voice carried the weight of centuries. Luna's breath caught. "Moonblood, I'm no one. My pack cast you out because they fear what they cannot name." The woman interrupted. "But your wolf is not gone, Luna. She was bound, sealed by your father's fear, and the Alpha's rejection tore the seal wide enough for the curse to stir." Luna's pulse raced. "A curse," the elder nodded. "Your wolf is too strong to exist among the weak. She sleeps until your spirit is ready to bear her, until you remember what it means to be chosen by the moon." Thunder rolled in the distance, low and warning. The air thickened, charged with the same silver light from the pendant. Luna took a shaky breath, "And if I wake her," the woman's gaze softened, "then the world will remember who you are, and those who shamed you will tremble." Before Luna could ask more, the woman stepped back, her form dissolving into mist. The pendant dimmed, but the whisper lingered, "Awaken me when the moon calls again." Luna stared into the darkness, her heart no longer hollow, but alive with something fierce and trembling. She wasn't broken, she was unfinished, and the moon was rising once more. The Hollowfang patrols were restless. It had been a week since Luna's disappearance, and Kale could no longer ignore the unease stirring in the ranks. Reports whispered of silver lights moving between the trees, of an unmarked scent drifting across the borders. Neither wolf nor human, but something in between. Kale dismissed it publicly, but privately it gnawed at him. "Alpha," Elias said as they trekked through the fog-drenched woods, "if she's out there, she's not the same girl you rejected." Kale shot him a sharp look. "You think I don't know that?" His voice was low, rough. "Every night I feel it, like she's awake somewhere, watching." The beta hesitated. "Then maybe the moon goddess hasn't finished her work." Kale turned away before Elias could see the flicker of doubt in his eyes. Meanwhile, miles away, Luna crouched behind a fallen oak, breath shallow. She could feel them. The pack's patrol was close, too close, but this time, fear didn't root her to the ground. It sharpened her senses. The pendant around her neck throbbed faintly, in rhythm with her heartbeat, and then thump. Something inside her chest answered. The forest noise slowed, each sound stretching into clarity. She could smell the iron in the air, the musk of wolves, the sweat beneath their armor. One of the patrol wolves growled softly, his eyes glowing amber in the dark. "She's near," he muttered. Luna pressed her palm to the earth, feeling a pulse beneath the soil. It thrummed in response, silver veins flickering for a heartbeat. A surge of warmth coursed through her, and a whisper echoed in her mind again. Calm, powerful, now you feel me. Her body shuddered, her fingers dug into the dirt, and the ground responded, roots twitching like veins alive. The nearest wolf stepped forward. Show yourself, witch. Luna raised her head, eyes glinting faintly silver in the moonlight. Not witch, she said quietly. Wolf. The air trembled, her vision blurred. And then came the sound, the ancient crack of bones shifting, not in pain, but in release. A flash of light split the clearing. The wolves stumbled back, shielding their eyes. When the light dimmed, Luna stood in the center, barefoot, trembling, her skin marked by faint glowing patterns like lunar sigils. Her eyes were no longer brown. They burned silver, white. The patrol scattered in fear, one of them howling into the night, calling for their alpha. Cale heard the howl from miles away. His blood ran cold. She's alive, Elias said, breathless, and she's changed. Cale looked toward the forest, his pulse sinking with the distant howl. No, she wasn't just alive. She was calling to him. The storm rolled in without warning. Lightning flashed over the pines, painting the forest in violent streaks of white. Cale's patrols had scattered to find the rogue that had torn through 2 warriors, and though he refused to admit it aloud, every instinct in his body whispered the same impossible truth. It was her. He tracked the scent through the rain. Earth, blood, and something achingly familiar. It pulled at him the way a thread might tug a needle home. When he found her, she was slumped against a rock, one arm soaked crimson, her breathing shallow. Luna. The name tore from him before he could stop it. Her head lifted slowly, her eyes, those impossible silver eyes, met his. For a heartbeat he forgot to breathe. Don't, she rasped, pushing herself up, trembling. Don't you dare come closer. Cale froze, rain dripping down his jaw. You're hurt. You made me this. She hissed, her voice cracked, but the fury in it was alive, bright as lightning. You rejected me before your pack, and now you come to play savior. He moved anyway. The alpha in him couldn't watch her bleed. He reached out, just to stop the flow of blood, but when his fingers brushed her skin, a surge of heat burned through him. The mark, the bond he'd severed, it was alive. Luna gasped, stumbling back. Don't touch me. Cale's voice shook. The bond shouldn't exist. I broke it. Then why does it still hurt? Her words came out like a plea, but she masked it with a glare. Every time you breathe near me, it feels like my chest is on fire. The thunder swallowed his answer. He tore his cloak and pressed it against her wound anyway. She tried to shove him away weakly, but her strength faltered. Her hand slipped and landed on his wrist. For an instant the world stilled. Cale saw flashes, her running barefoot through moonlight, her eyes glowing silver, her body breaking and remaking itself beneath the moon. He felt her fear, her rage, her impossible strength, and realized the truth. She wasn't cursed, she was evolving. Luna, he whispered, voice hoarse, what have you become? Her gaze softened, just a flicker. Something you were never meant to control. Before he could respond, she wrenched free and staggered into the storm, disappearing between the trees. Cale stood there, hands stained with her blood, the heat of her touch still burning into his skin. And as lightning cracked across the sky, he knew one thing for certain: the mate bond was not broken. It was reborn. The moon rose like a blade of silver over the valley. Every shadow trembled beneath its glow. Luna stood alone at the heart of the clearing, the same place she had once been rejected. The memory clung to the grass and the stones, the laughter, the whispers, the alpha's cold eyes. Tonight, she had returned to rewrite that moment. Her body ached with fever. Each breath came ragged, as though her lungs couldn't contain the air. Beneath her skin, something ancient stirred, restless and hungry. You've run long enough, a voice whispered in her mind. It was the same voice from her dreams, the wolf's voice, patient and proud. It's time to stop hiding from who we are. She fell to her knees, clutching her chest as the first pulse hit. Silver light spilled from her palms, searing the air. Her heart thundered, her bones tremble, cracking, reshaping, remembering what they were meant to be. In the distance, Cale and his warriors approached, drawn by the surge of energy. The ground itself vibrated. Alpha, one of the sentinels shouted. Something's but Cale already knew. He could feel her. The same fire that had burned his mark alive now blazed across the forest. He burst into the clearing just as Luna screamed. Her cry turned into a howl. The sound shattered the air, raw and beautiful and agonizingly free. Light exploded around her. Where Luna had stood, a magnificent silver wolf rose. Taller than any he'd ever seen, her fur glowing like molten moonlight, her eyes the same piercing silver that haunted his every dream. The pack froze in awe. No one dared to move, even the night seemed to bow, Moonblood. One elder whispered, dropping to his knees, the goddess's chosen. Kale couldn't breathe. Every instinct told him to kneel, to submit, not out of fear but reverence. He took a single step forward. Luna. The wolf turned to him, her gaze cutting through the darkness. For a heartbeat he saw recognition, then fury. She growled low and deep, a warning that thrummed through the ground. I never wanted your pity. Her voice echoed in his mind, clear as if spoken aloud. You rejected me as weak. Tell me, Alpha, how weak do I look now? Kale flinched, his throat tight. You don't. Her howl rose again, high and fierce, and the forest answered. Every wolf in the territory felt it. That command of the moon, the pulse of power that had lain dormant for 18 years. The pack watched as Luna's light grew brighter, until even Kale had to shield his eyes. When it faded, she was gone. Only a shimmer of silver mist remained, drifting into the trees. Kale sank to his knees, trembling, the echo of her power still humming in his veins. He had called her human once. But now, she was something far beyond him, something divine, and for the first time in his life, the Alpha wasn't sure who truly ruled the pack anymore. The night after Luna's awakening, silence gripped the pack lands like frost. Not even the wind dared move through the trees. Kale stood before the council chamber, the scent of smoke and fear thick in the air. His warriors had returned, eyes downcast. No one spoke her name, but everyone felt it, the echo of that howl, still trembling in their bones. She revealed herself under your command, Elder Corvin said, his voice cutting through the silence. The prophecy speaks of a moonblood rising when the Alpha fails the goddess's trust. Tell me, Kale, have you failed her? Kale didn't answer. His fingers clenched against the wooden table, jaw tight. I rejected her, he admitted finally, voice low and rough. I called her human. I called her a mistake. A murmur swept through the room, and now? Corvin continued, she carries the moon's power. The balance is broken. The pack feels it. Your bond to her, whatever remains, could undo everything we stand on. Kale's chest ached at those words, undo everything. Perhaps it already had. He could still see her, the silver glow, the way she had looked at him not with hatred, but something worse, disappointment. His beta jerk leaned forward, eyes wary. The council's right, Kale. The mark's still there. It burned through your skin when she shifted. You can't lead with that connection half alive. It's driving the pack mad. Kale's control slipped just for a second. You think I don't know that. His voice cracked like thunder, echoing through the hall. Every breath I take, I feel her heartbeat beneath it. Every night I close my eyes, I see her eyes staring back. The silence that followed was unbearable. Then Elder Corvin spoke again, softer this time. Then find her. Ask forgiveness before the goddess decides for you, because if the moonblood rejects your soul next, no Alpha mark will save you. Kale bowed his head, the weight of his crown pressing like iron. Forgiveness? How could he ask that from the woman whose life he'd shattered before an entire pack? Still, deep inside, beneath the shame and fury, something stirred, not dominance, not pride, hope. He lifted his gaze to the full moon outside the window, silver, merciless, and watching. If Luna was the goddess's chosen, then he would kneel before that goddess himself to make things right, even if it meant surrendering the title of Alpha forever. The night forest whispered with silver voices. Luna followed them deeper into the old lands, places forbidden to the pack for generations. Moss grew thick over fallen stones, and the air shimmered faintly with traces of moonlight that never faded, even after centuries. She had come here guided by dreams and by the pull inside her chest, the wolf's voice, calm and insistent. We are home, it whispered. Ahead, a circle of ancient runestones gleamed with soft blue fire. At the center stood an old woman wrapped in a cloak of feathers and silver threads. Her eyes were pale as dawn. "You found your way, child of the sealed moon." The woman said. Luna froze. "Who are you?" "Names are dust. I am the keeper. I have waited 18 years for the moonblood to rise again." Luna's pulse quickened. Moonblood? The elders said it was just a myth, a blessing long gone. The keeper smiled faintly. "Not gone, hidden." She raised a hand and the stones glowed brighter, forming a sigil, the same shape that had burned across Luna's skin the night she transformed. "When you were born, the sky bled silver. The Alpha before Kale feared what that meant. So he ordered your power sealed. He thought he was protecting the pack, but he was only delaying the goddess's will." Luna's breath caught. "My wolf, she wasn't missing. She was bound." "Yes," the keeper said gently, "bound by fear, unsealed by rejection. Only when your soul was broken could the goddess's light be reborn. Pain was your key." Tears stung Luna's eyes. For years she had hated herself, believed she was nothing, and all this time her wolf had been waiting, caged by the very pack that had mocked her. "Why me?" she whispered. "Because the moonblood line begins and ends with those who carry compassion in their rage," the keeper said. "You were chosen to remind them what strength truly is, not dominance but balance." Luna knelt before the stones as moonlight gathered around her, forming a luminous mark over her heart. It pulsed once, steady, eternal. The keeper's voice softened. "The Alpha will come soon, and you must decide, Luna of the moonblood, whether to forgive or to lead." The light flared, and when it faded, the clearing was empty. Only the whisper of the goddess remained, curling through the air like a promise. "You were never powerless, child, only waiting." The night reeked of blood and smoke. The rival pack from the north, wolves branded in shadow, descended upon the valley without warning. Their alpha, Verk, moved like a phantom between the trees, his eyes burning crimson with rage. "Find the girl," he snarled to his hunters. "The moonblood belongs to me." Luna stood at the edge of the clearing, silver light gathering in her palms. Every heartbeat echoed with the memory of the keeper's words. "You must decide whether to forgive or to lead." Behind her, the crescent moon pack scrambled to defend their borders. Chaos screamed through the woods. Gnarls, snapping bones, the metallic scent of fear, and then Kale appeared. He was bloodied, eyes glowing gold, his aura thrumming with desperation. The instant he saw her, the world seemed to still. "Luna," he breathed, "you shouldn't be here." She met his gaze without flinching. "This is my pack too, Kale. I won't run again." A roar shattered the night as Verk leapt from the shadows, his claws striking sparks against the ground. Kale lunged, intercepting the blow, and the two alphas collided with the force of thunder. Luna joined the fight, her body glowing, movements fluid as wind. When she shifted, the silver wolf burst forth like moonlight incarnate, fur bristling with raw energy. The forest itself seemed to bow beneath her presence. The enemy wolves faltered. None could match the aura of the moon's chosen. Kale fought beside her, his gold to her silver, his strength to her grace. For the first time, their powers didn't clash. They harmonized. Every strike he threw found its rhythm with hers. Every step she took followed his instinctively. They were never meant to destroy each other. They were meant to rule together. Verk lunged again, seizing Luna by the throat. But her wolf flared with celestial fury. Light burst from her form, burning through his shadow aura, and his scream echoed like tearing steel. Kale struck the final blow, forcing Verk to his knees. This pack, Kale growled, bows to no darkness. The rival alpha fell, his body dissolving into ash as the moon reached its peak. When the silence returned, Luna shifted back, her skin glowing faintly, her eyes filled with something fragile and fierce all at once. Kale approached her slowly, blood on his hands, reverence in his gaze. "You saved them," he said softly. "You saved us." Luna shook her head. "No, we saved each other." Above them, the moon flared brighter, no longer cold but warm, alive. The goddess's blessing had returned to their land. And for the first time since the rejection, Luna looked at Kale not with pain, but with possibility. Dawn crept slowly over the valley, painting the mountains in hues of gold and silver. The battle was over. The enemy lay defeated, yet the air still thrummed not with fear now, but with something raw and sacred. Luna stood by the riverbank, her reflection rippling in the water. The moon's glow still lingered faintly in her skin, though her eyes were soft now, not the fierce storm they had been the night before, but calm, luminous. Behind her, Cale approached quietly. His steps were heavy, but his heart heavier still. "You could have killed me," he said at last, voice low. "When I was down, when I was broken, you could have let me die out there." Luna didn't turn, and what would that have changed? Cale stopped a few paces behind her. The wind carried the scent of rain and blood and something clean forgiveness, maybe. "I was wrong," he said, each word trembling, "about you, about what makes someone worthy of the pack. I let my fear speak louder than the bond." She finally looked back, her silver eyes meeting his. "You didn't just reject me, Cale. You made me believe I was nothing, and maybe that was the only way I could learn to be everything." Her words struck deep, not cruelly, but with truth. Cale dropped to one knee before her, his head bowed. The Alpha humbled. "I don't ask for your forgiveness," he murmured, "only the chance to prove I'm no longer that man." Luna studied him for a long time, her heart a storm of contradictions. The memory of his rejection still burned, but so did the memory of his courage, his protection, his eyes when he thought she was gone forever. "You don't need to kneel, Cale," she said softly, "not to me." Slowly, she stepped closer. When she lifted her hand, a shimmer of moonlight followed her touch, tracing the mark that had once burned between them. It pulsed again, alive, waiting. Cale looked up, breath catching. "You're offering it back." Luna smiled faintly. "Not offering, choosing." She pressed her palm against his chest. The mark flared, not red, not gold, but silver, glowing like liquid moonfire. It spread across them both, wrapping around their hearts in mirrored light. Cale gasped, the bond snapping into place, not the old chain of dominance and duty, but something freer, purer. The air filled with a soft hum as the moon above dimmed, her blessing complete. The pack, gathered in the distance, knelt in silent awe. When Luna spoke again, her voice carried with quiet strength. "I am Luna of the Moonblood. I am no one's mistake." Cale rose, eyes wet, and for the first time he smiled not as an alpha, but as a man who had finally found his equal. "You are," he whispered, "my moon." And when their lips met beneath the fading stars, the world itself seemed to sigh a sound of endings, and of something beautiful beginning again. The forest had never been so quiet. Weeks had passed since the battle, yet the crescent moon territory still pulsed with strange silver warmth. Where blood once soaked the earth, wildflowers now bloomed pale and luminous under the moonlight, as if the goddess herself had kissed the soil. Luna walked the ridge above the valley, bare feet brushing against dew-drenched grass. Her long hair shimmered in the faint light, the silver mark at her throat glowing softly, not as a wound now, but as a crown. Below her, the pack moved in quiet harmony. Wolves who once whispered against her now bowed as she passed. The air no longer carried the sharp scent of doubt or fear, and for the first time in her life, Luna felt home. A familiar warmth brushed against her from behind a presence she could sense even before it touched her skin. Cale, he came to stand beside her, silent for a long while, watching the moon rise above the mountains. The scar across his jaw caught the light, but his eyes, gold and steady, were soft now, no longer haunted. "It's strange," he murmured. "All my life, I thought strength meant never kneeling, never admitting weakness." Luna smiled faintly. And now, he looked at her then, and something unguarded passed through his expression: devotion, reverence, peace. "Now I know the strongest thing I've ever done was fall to my knees before you." She laughed softly, the sound blending with the rustle of leaves. "Careful, Alpha, the pack will think you've gone soft." "They already do," he said, moving closer, "and maybe they're right." The wind carried the scent of pine and night flowers as he slid his arm around her waist, pulling her gently against him. She didn't resist. Her head rested against his shoulder, heartbeat matching his, one rhythm, one bond, one promise. "I still can't believe it," he whispered. "You, the girl who had no wolf, are now the heart of the goddess's power." Luna tilted her face toward the moon. "Maybe I always had a wolf," she said softly. She just needed to remember who she was. Cale kissed her hair, lingering in the silence that followed. For the first time, it wasn't heavy or painful, it was peace. Below them, the pack howled a chorus not of fear or obedience, but of unity. The sound rose high into the stars, echoing across the valley. Luna closed her eyes, feeling the energy hum through her veins, through his, through every living soul that called this place home. And somewhere far beyond the mortal sky, the goddess smiled, for the moonblood had risen, the alpha had bowed, and the world for now was whole again. But deep in the dark woods beyond the ridge, a single shadow stirred, watching, waiting. The peace, as always, would not last forever.